everyone, today I have another team build for you. In this build guide, I want to quickly preface it where this team build, while I think is definitely usable, and if this appeals to you, then awesome. It's definitely fun for me, but it's not going to be the most optimal. This build is definitely more memey and just sort of for fun. If you're looking to try and min-max, because I know some players are really into trying to min-max as much as possible, this won't really be the one for you. This team build, it's going to be for the Tyrant Christian alignment, and it's what I like to call the Power Ranger team. And that is because this team uses the Red Knight, the Black Knight, and the White Knight on the core. So, kind of like the Red Power Ranger, Black Power Ranger, and White Power Ranger. As soon as I saw all three of the colored Knight options were usable within the Tyrant Christian alignment, this was one of the first teams I wanted to put together and try just for fun. The fourth team member to sort of keep it on theme is either going to be Morgos or Ector, who would kind of, I guess, if we're keeping with the theme, would be like Rita or Zordon. Throwback to the first generation of Power Rangers. As I mentioned before, the team can actually perform fairly well, but I definitely play this one more so for the memes. I definitely have another team comp I do plan to do later that I think is stronger than this one. It's a lot of fun. There's definitely some build diversity, I think, that goes into this, and let's just go into it and I'll explain how it works. Starting with the Red Knight, this is going to be your defender, your tank. You can see I don't have really any essences on him because my main defender for this save file has primarily been Galahad. So if this is a build that you decide is what you maybe want to main, I would definitely just lean towards the primary essences that you generally put on your defenders, extra HP, extra armor, extra block, stuff like that. Having him skew more defensive, I think, is probably the overall better option to go. And then for that 4 slot, you can give him like extra bleed damage or something. For the gear, you're mostly going to want a mix of defensive and offensive options. So, for example, on my Red Knight, I have the Hex Mark of Impunity. This has that always turn to face towards your attackers, which is really good, and ignore 50% of armor break. And a little bit of a damage buff, 5% damage until the end of the encounter for each hit received. A little bit of extra HP as well. This is a pretty good mix of that. For the weapon, I went with one that has just higher base damage and has culling strikes on it, so if there's an enemy that's low, instead of wasting AP on one of your main damage dealers, maybe, or having to go after them, wasting AP on the champions in this case to go running over there, you can just shield charge over really quick with the Red Knight, get the kill, trigger the culling strikes, and get the execution. Nice and simple. The other bonus damage effects on this weapon aren't super relevant. It's mostly for the first two abilities on this. For the first accessory, this is a pretty decent tanking one. Melee attacks against him will cost 1 extra AP, so that's just extra survivability, and dodge the first incoming attack of each encounter. The vitality stuff is okay, but this is just a solid defensive option for any defender. For the Oathstone, I actually went with the Seasonal Relic Oathstone, Soul Shepherd's Oath. I think this is a perfect mix of offense and defense. It has the plus 5% block, which is always amazing. We gain 8 HP at the start of each encounter, which isn't a whole lot, but it's something. But it has reflect 10 damage to the attacker and deal a whopping 85 damage to all adjacent enemies on the start of their turn. So just a lot of passive damage utility, plus some of that defensive block that you like to see. Just overall a really good pick here. As far as skills go, I pretty much took everything that involves taking a knockdown. I spec'd up his Mach a little bit. You may want to take the skill here so he can hit 2 targets. But I also kept some of the damage dealing things such as Death Strike, Assassination, and Master Bleeding. This is sort of a hybrid style build for Red Knight. If you could get an extra skill point on him, I think he's a good pick for those tomes or the extra skill points. Our damage dealers is going to be our Black Power Ranger and our White Power Ranger here. For the Black Knight, it's just a very standard Black Knight build. Running Juggernaut Seal as usual. The essences I usually run on him: extra damage, immunity to knockdown, the AP on kill, and the extra armor break. If you prefer to have White Knight be your main damage dealer, just take whatever you see here and move it over to him. The Earthsmith ring is absolutely nuts. The Sign of Epona is really, really good. I think a lot of the seasonal relics, if you just like them more than the stuff I have here, that's perfectly fine. But the skills, I've done videos on the Black Knight before and how I build him. If you want to get more detail on that, I would say just go check that out. I don't want this video to be too long. For the White Knight, I have his essences currently empty. He's kind of my secondary damage dealer. As you can see, I put a lot of the stuff to help build up my main damage dealer, my Black Knight. So whoever you choose to be main and secondary, basically this is just where your flex essences go. So like the double damage essence would be good. Any essences to shore up his defensiveness, like the mental debuff resist, you can see 0% on right now, so the essence of willpower would be solid. Or a Slayer essence, like the Famorian Slayer or Lost Slayer, whatever. Basically, just this is where you would put those essences. I decided to just load him up on the seasonal relic gear. The Sigil Woe is really good. Minus 50% AP for enemies on their first turn is really good to keep you safe on that opening turn. Jagged Axe is solid. 17% isn't a lot, but if you hit that 17%, it's pretty good. The main thing I really took it for is the plus 18 damage against units larger than one tile. So the extra damage against Famorians he can do to them, really high base damage. The bleeding is kind of whatever. If you're going to use this weapon, you may want to take the open wounds on him, just because this synergizes with it so well. The accessory, honestly, this one is not a great pick. You're definitely going to swap this out as something else. I have it just because I had a random blue. I couldn't find anything decent. The picking up soul fragments is good, I guess. Give extra AP to the rest of your party and you get extra AP if you rest. The teleporting 2 tiles away isn't great, honestly, because you generally want to keep your champion around the enemies. And then the Horn of the Pale Stag has a Culling Strikes ability on it, which is just solid. That's always useful. Plus extra damage on power attack and extra damage when you get kills until the end of the encounter. That's just useful for stacking with Rage. Going into Morgause, I do have a really old build video for her, and the skills should be pretty much the same, maybe a little different from then. The gear is going to be really different, though. The one thing that does stay the same is this item here. I really love having a item that applies chill to adjacent enemies and -1 cooldown for ice skills. This lets you get freezing attack on a 1-turn cooldown, and she can effectively stun lock an enemy one-on-one infinitely, and that's amazing. The +1 cooldown for support skills is nothing for her because she doesn't have support skills. Haha. I currently have Spire Shard on her just to make her more safe to CCs. When she gets stunned or knocked down, it really hurts because I want her to be doing a million things every round with all of her spells and attacks. Just get a weapon here that has the plus 15% damage for the next melee for each spell cast. She can get this damage bonus really high. And then just armors, whatever. For me, I have +1 AP. Extra AP on her is good. For a total of 10, she can do a lot of stuff with that. And for sages, again, essence-wise, just flex essence stuff, things that you have left over. For me, resistance to spells, increasing her debuff resistance stuff. I kind of mentioned why earlier. And I gave her Lost Slayer, because why not, I guess. For Ector, if you want information on this Ector build and how I use him in the Power Ranger team, I have a video I released like last week, I think, covering this exact build. So if you want detail on that, you should go check that out. The main thing to this is that it's a burn build. I'm sure a lot of you are probably familiar with how this works. For him, it's through the Immolated One's Lament. You put burn on enemies, you spam a bunch of spells, and then it triggers the wild magic effect and hits them for like 400 damage. Generally, I prefer to run the Power Rangers here and then Morgause, or Rita, because she just provides so much more crowd control and debuffing over Ector that I think she just contributes more than he does. I don't really need the damage from his burns a whole lot because I am running Black Knight and White Knight. And yeah, we got our tank, we got our damage dealers, primary and secondary, and then our debuff and crowd control support. That's the rundown on the team. Didn't want it to go too long. Let's just go ahead and jump into the fights. I'm going to be doing one with the Lost because it kind of helps show off the usefulness of knockdowns from the Red Knight. And then I'm going to do a Famorian fight because, of course, this is the Chained God Season 1. You're going to want to see how this does against Famorians, as that's the primary threat. The first fight I have for you is here in the Fall of House Caldwell. It's a mission against the Lost. As I mentioned, just kind of gives more an opportunity to kind of show off the Red Knight and what he can kind of contribute through all of his knockdowns, because obviously against Famorians it's not going to be that useful as they can't be knocked down. In this fight here, you can see it's a little bit of an ambush. They spawn in a bunch of different directions. So we're going to use our Red Knight to pretty much lock down this group here, these crossbowmen and this brute. Just engage with a shield charge, knock him down with a throwing axe, and then just move here. Morgoth is going to do what she does so amazingly, throw down a thunderstorm and just apply shock to so many guys at once. And then we're going to do an ice wall, something like this. Kind of force them to go around it a little bit, and that way when we break the ice wall on our next turn, it can freeze a bunch of them as well if we need that. I'm going to use a Blessed Weapon on our first turn with the White Knight just to prep them for next turn, and we should be good. So what we're going to do here, we're going to do kick, knock him over, move the Red Knight over like this, and then we'll use mock. Now with our champions here, they got a lot of damage stacked up from damage focus. We have the Earth Ball skill ready from the previous fight, so we're going to go ahead and use this. We'll move over to here, and we're going to use this to hit up all these guys. We'll get 2 kills from the ice wall, actually. These do count as kills, so we'll get 2 rage stacks off of this. That's another reason why Morgoth synergizes so well, is the ice walls can feed kills to your champions. Do something like that. Then we can do a leap attack. We can do another earth ball. Something like this. That'll get us 2 more kills. Move up. We can do earth shaker. Let's go ahead and move back over here. Do another earth ball. Let's go like here. Boom, get you. Let's go ahead and do another earth ball. So now we have enough AP to come over here and finish you off. Now our White Knight is free. He can come over here, do something like this. Morgoth can throw down some chain lightning. And we'll pass. Looks like we got an opportunity attack there. Then you can see Red Knight was able to keep them locked down. I mean, we were able to kill him that turn, but for instance, if we weren't, Kick has a 1-turn cooldown, so he would have pretty much been able to keep that one brute type enemy permanently knocked over, and remaining in that melee distance with that crossbowman would have kept him pretty locked down as well. The Earth Ball is a really, really strong move with our champions here, so let's go ahead and move on to a fight against some Famorians. For the Famorian fight, I'm over here on the Warlord mission. I'm a bit of the way in. I think this one's a pretty good one. We have some proper Famorians we're going against. We got a Shield Breaker, some Windmasters in the back, got a Taint Hog even, some Totems that'll be spawning in new guys, and some Wargs. This fight does give us one advantage, though. They're all coming from one narrow venue, so that makes Morgoth and her control ability just kind of nuts. Put down a thunderstorm like that, and we can even ice wall, lock those guys in there like that, and go ahead and pass our turn. So one thing we can definitely do here to get some easy rage stacks early, take advantage of the ice wall. I'm going to avoid doing that though. It is a bit cheesy and not something I generally like to do a whole lot in my own gameplay. But I am going to go for these guys here. Gonna need to soften them up a little bit, so let's move Morgoth up. Cast some Chain Lightning, hit these enemies here in the back. Right. I forgot to Blessed Weapon first. Missed out on some decent damage there too. Oh well, that's alright. Alright. Move him up. Let's go ahead and Throwing Axe, knock you back. Then with our Black Knight. Can I get a better angle? Like, there we... Yeah, that's what I want. Just like that. Perfect, just how I wanted it. Killed the wargs, got to him. Then we can... Earthshaker. Let's go ahead and shoot an Earth Ball into there. And there we go. Morgoth's got some AP, so let's go ahead and pick up this Weakness Soul here. And then we'll pass. The AI guards are taking a lot of those hurricanes for me, and then that moved to White Knight, of course it did. So let's go ahead and drink this haste potion, just so we can get our White Knight up here into the thick of it. That's really where leap attack shines. You can just see he's able to just move his way up so much easier. The ice wall broke, so let's go ahead and move our Red Knight into here. He can start running some control on this. Let's do a Death Strike on you. And that should be solid. His Oathstone is actually probably going to kill this warg. A Thunderbolt here. Just move her up. Let's go ahead and kill you. Leap attack here. Move over one. Get a double there. Can Earth Ball here. Kill this last totem. Pick this up. Let's actually send White Knight back this way. Yep, 123 there from the Oathstone. 80, Stuffer didn't catch it. 80 something on him, but then he healed. Culling hits. Shield charge. Have you grab that? Let's send a White Knight over here to help our Red Knight finish this off. You can see our Red Knight still has the tankiness you want from your defenders. This Swordsman, you... That's fine. Let's move here. Weaken him up. I think we can Thunderbolt through here. Yes, we can. I guess we'd start running Black Knight over, but it's not going to matter. He's locked out. There you go. The guards killed him because our Oathstone managed to get him weak enough. You saw it there. Even against Famorians, this team can do very well. Admittedly, that terrain was definitely a bit to our advantage, but you can see we're still running champions. The damage is still good. White Knight, he's not the best as a secondary damage dealer, and unless you're really loading him up with something like a teleport on kill item, which I actively avoid, or funneling him as your main damage dealer, you could probably use someone else that'd be a bit more optimal, but he definitely gets the job done. He's helpful and can definitely break armor better than any other secondary damage dealer and let our Black Knight go in and open up a lot stronger on those types of enemies. There you are, the Power Rangers in action. It's a fun team. I like it. I just laugh to myself and have fun as I run around playing the Power Rangers theme music in my head, going around killing stuff. I like to think that the Red Knight, when the fight starts, just shouts it's morphin time or something like that. It's dumb, it's kind of memey, but it definitely can work. It's pretty strong just by the nature of how strong having a defender is. This Oathstone, I'm sure you saw him dishing out hundreds of damage passively, comboing off of Assassination, really does add up and turns the Red Knight into a pretty decent softener for the targets on your champions to come in and sweep. Morgoth, just insane crowd control. Black Knight, as usual, just crazy damage. And then White Knight, you can definitely tell he's feeling a bit neglected, not getting the sort of resources he may usually get, but still definitely able to contribute as a secondary damage dealer, especially against Famorians where they're going to have a bunch of armor. He can definitely fit in there. Again, probably not the most optimal. You could probably run a better defender. You could probably run a different secondary over the White Knight. But it's fun. I like the theme, and it works. If you really liked this team comp, and this is something you want to do for yourself, then awesome. I'm glad I was able to provide this for you. If this isn't something you think you may run, hopefully it was at least entertaining to watch. And as always, thank you for watching.